Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mike, and I'm back for MOBOX showing you how to morph text in After Effects. I've shown the morphing kind of technique multiple times, whether it be with PNG images, whether it be with shape layers. I'm going to do it now with text layers. If you want to see the other videos, I'm sure they'll be somewhere around the screen for you to click. But this one, we're focusing specifically on text layers. I almost said shape layers, but it's text layers. So anyways, we're jumping in After Effects here, and it looks like we have an E here, but actually we have an L and we have an F. They're just overlapped, so they're kind of hard to tell. I'm just going to select them, hit T on the keyboard, and reduce the transparency just so you can kind of tell there. So what we're going to do first, this text layer does not have shape information. We need to get the shape information for this text layer. Right click the F, come up to create shapes from text. Do the same thing with the L, right click, create shapes from text. I'm just going to delete the original, I don't need them. I'm just going to turn the motion blur on. Select both the layers, press T on the keyboard, and reduce the transparency. That'll help a lot when it comes to creating the effect. So I'm going to search for path, and what this will do is bring up all my path options here. I'm just going to set keyframes for them. Click this, press U on the keyboard, press U on the keyboard. Now I have my two paths. So for this example, I want to turn the L into an F. So if I just come up maybe to 1 second, and I just select the F keyframe, Control C, copy it, so I select the F path, and I'm going to paste it on the L path, Control V. I'm just going to make the F invisible, and you could see here that very easily we made the L transform into an F. Now, this is not ideal, right? It's not hand done. It's all kind of computer generated. It doesn't really have too much going for it, other than it doesn't look aggressively offensive, but it doesn't look really great. So I'm going to show you a technique that might make it look a little bit better. So let's say, for example, you got to look at the geometry of the letters, and an F and an L are almost identical letters if you really think about it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to set a rotation keyframe for the L, press U on the keyboard. Now we show all of our keyframes. Come up to the 1 second, and I'm actually going to set a position keyframe as well, just to be safe. Press U on the keyboard, and come up here, rotate it 180 degrees. I'm also going to make my F visible so I have something to guide me. I'm going to slide this over to where the F is. And now I've got a decision to make. How do I get these two parts of the F to transform out? So what I want to do is I'm actually going to select the path for this L, and I'm going to bring, I've got to make sure we select the actual path and not the whole layer. See, that's not what we want. I don't know why it's not working. There it goes. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to just drag these over, and you can actually see that this L is technically a little bit thinner than the F. So I'm just going to bring these in a little bit. We might be off center just a tad, but that's okay. So I'm going to bring these in here. So now we have our main stake part of the L. And when you hold shift, it keeps it on one axis, so that's how I'm getting these straight lines. All right. So there we have that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, I can add some path information here. So that's what I'm going to do now. Select the pen tool, make sure I have the path selected, and I'm going to have to add 2 points. So now I'm just going to drag this point over here. Make sure it's nice and straight. And move this point over here. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. And again, you know, I'm not putting too much time into it, so it's not absolutely perfect. But now when you see what happens, making the F invisible, is that we have something that looks a little bit more hand-drawn, something with a little bit more of a hand-drawn look to it. I'm just going to drag these off, make these start maybe after 10 seconds. And I might select all these and add some motion to it. This is a tool from Mount MoGraph. You can get it at mountmograph.com/motion, I believe, or you can just search it in Google. And basically what this does is helps smooth out keyframes without going into the graph editor, which I cannot stand. So you see there that we just got some nice motion, and it's not perfect. It's not, you know, by any means, you know, the end-all be-all hand-drawn effect, but it, you know, I think it looks not bad. We could even add another 180 to this. Give it a full spin. And that might be what you're looking for. You might want to change the axis a little bit or not. So that's just a quick look on how to do that. And you can always animate more of it, right? So from here, you might want to make it look like this is almost, you know, getting mushy or something like that. Whoa, I don't know what that just did. You know, that might be something that you want to do also, to make it look like it's, you know, it has some inertia or something. So anyways, that was just a quick look at that shape. Now let's move on to another shape. So here, believe it or not, I have two shapes. I've got a Q and I've got an O. And this one is literally so simple. So again, I'm just going to search for path. And let's see, I'm just going to search P, actually. Oh, okay, I only had this one selected. Or, let's see, what's going on? Okay, here we go. So here's a little bit more complicated of an example. Both the O and the Q have this negative space here in the letters. So when you do these morphing, you need to make sure that the negative space is accounted for. For this example, there's the same amount of negative space in both of them. So I could just copy the keyframe from the Q and paste it on the C, and copy the negative space from the Q and paste it onto the C. So now when we go from a Q to a C, ooh, that doesn't look good, does it? See, that's a big problem when you just copy and paste keyframes. It doesn't always look right, and the position of the keyframes don't always work. So let's do this by hand instead. And so again, copy both, or select both, press T on the keyboard, reduce the opacity. And now simply I'm just going to create some extra points here. And I'm just gonna what the heck is going on? And I'm just going to hand add. What the heck is going on? I think I messed something up. I'm just hitting Control Z just to back up a couple steps. Okay, I don't know what was going on there. I'm just gonna add some points. I just have the pen tool selected, and I'm just creating points along here to make it easier. Okay, so that's the negative space that I've selected. Now I'm gonna go to the outside path and add some points. Now, simply I'm just going to drag these points over. And this is where things can get a little bit complicated, but I just want to kind of reduce that Bezier handle as best as I could without compromising the shape of the layer. So I'm just pulling those Bezier handles in. I think another option is to, I think, hold Alt. Does that delete them? With the pen tool selected, let's see. Yes, that I believe does delete Bezier handles. And it also adds Bezier handles, by the way. So if you have one that, I guess a point that doesn't have Bezier handles and you want to add them, that's a simple tool. Just click the pen tool, press Alt, and select on the keyframe. But unfortunately for us, we need some Bezier handles on these. So it's really as simple as this. I mean, I know it seems very simple and very rudimentary at times, but really it's just practice that I seemingly don't have to select these keyframes. So again, I'm just going to delete the Bezier aspect of those, press the pen tool, hold Alt, click on them, and just do the same steps as I did before. So now we'll see what we have, and it is a C just boom turning into a Q out of nowhere. And you know, something you might have going on here, you might have a rotation. And let's see where we're going to be at. We might have something that kind of looks like this. So there you go. Simple as that. Now you could always, because this circle isn't perfectly circle, that's why it kind of has like a weird look to it. But that's just, you just got to be kind of aware of the aspects of each individual letter to know how to best, I guess, hand draw it. Because really, I mean, there's really unlimited amounts of ways you could do it. It's just, you know, I always look for the simple way. And the simple way, unfortunately, does revolve around hand drawing it, because the built-in effects don't always work. All right, so let's go to our last one. Again, search for path. I'm setting keyframes here. This is a slightly more difficult version. So we have a B and we have an A, and an A only has one negative space and a B has two negative spaces. So there's a number of ways you can get around this. What I always do, it's always the simplest way. I always just have one negative space scaled to 0, basically. Simple as that. Scale it to 0, call it a day. Because ultimately, there's not a lot you could do with multiple negative spaces. So another tip is that even if you want to go from A to a B, you want to make it go from a B to an A, and then reverse the effect, because it's hard. You can't create negative space from nowhere, but you can remove negative space. So I can't have this A all of a sudden just develop a negative space. I mean, I could, but it's not really ideal. Now, another option I have is I can maybe have an effect that kind of splits this negative space into two. That kind of gets a little more complicated, so I'm just going to show you the basic way right now. So again, I want to go from a B to an A. Again, if I could just simply copy the keyframe and paste it over and see where that gets us. And again, that doesn't look horrible. For this example, again, you can hand draw it however you want. I'm just going to leave this just for speed's sake, but I'm going to come into these. I'm going to extend this so we don't have so much motion. Actually, I'm just going to turn motion blur off for a sec. So these start folding up on each other. And a tip that I use is I like to come in between the effect and just kind of like make these so they're not as like extreme. You know, kind of make them almost like they're liquidy. I know it's not perfect, and you know, it's it does add some extra time to a project, but sometimes adding a little bit extra time is worth it, just to kind of make things look a little bit smoother. Of course, these hard edges, you know, it's hard edge is a hard edge. There's not too much you could do with it. You could add Bezier handles and manipulate it that way, but I like to rather just kind of round out the hard edges if I have a Bezier handle available. See, so we kind of have like a weird folding happening here. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these points and I'm going to maybe even just pull them out a little bit. Kind of give it even more of a liquidy effect. Only because there's not a ton you can do about it folding on itself unless you hand draw the whole thing. And sometimes that's just not really, it's not really an option. You just don't have time to hand draw it. And if the effect happens so fast, it almost doesn't even matter, to be honest. So I'm struggling a little bit to get this to unfold properly. That looks a little bit better. Maybe with the motion blur on, you won't be able to tell as much. See, and that kind of looks a little goofy, to be honest, but for this example, we're just gonna leave it. If I were to do this, I would probably make this section turn into the top of the A here, or something a little bit more organic. Maybe have this section turn into this part of the A. But again, for this example, I'm just gonna let it go. The next portion we need to morph is the inside of the A into one of these. So I'm gonna select the top one. It kind of just naturally looks more like the top of the A, and I believe it's this. Let's see, it appears to be this one here. So I'm just gonna paste it there. So again, you can hand draw that one as well, but it is what it is. I'm just gonna now select this additional one, and so we can't bring it over there. We can't bring it down there, or else we start getting a shape. So, what can we do with this layer? Well, one thing you could do is you could just pinch all the points together. And that kind of pseudo shrinks it. Another option is you could just use the scale property. So I'm actually just going to use the scale property. Open up this layer. Open up this part of the B. Let's see, can I add a scale to this? I can't. So I'm stuck. So I'm stuck having to just shrink it down by hand. Unfortunately, I thought there was a scale property for individual of these. I think you could add the scale property, but that just gets into another layer of complexity. I'm just gonna just shrink this down. You can shrink it however you want. I'm not putting obviously as much time into this as I would if it was a real project. But yeah, simple as that. It's not, you know, it's not rocket science. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't matter if it's perfect. Again, however much time you want to put into it is really all that matters. For some reason, I can't seem to grab. There it is. And again, it's not gonna be pretty. It's not gonna be perfect. It just kind of shrinks down. Pressing U on the keyboard, pulling up all my keyframes. You can now add some smoothing to this. Do whatever you want. And again, I know this is not pretty in any fashion. But anyways, that was just a quick look. Some tips that I use to change the shapes of layers. And you could change letters into objects. You could change letters into shapes. You could change letters into all kinds of different things. I mean, the second you get shape and path information, you could do basically whatever you want with it. So I hope that this helped. I know that there was a couple obtuse examples, but if you did enjoy, please subscribe. Please give me a like on this video. Let me know in the comments down below a future video that you'd want to see. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching.